Hello and welcome to the latest Wrestle Carnival preview show, hype show for the upcoming show on Sunday, July the 30th. Wrestle Carnival 2, the second anniversary show from the HMV Empire in Coventry, their beloved home. And I'm joined as always by good friends, one of the co-hosts of the Tea and Tights podcast, Andy Moore. Andy, great to have you on the show again. How are you doing?
I'm buzzing. I'm looking forward to the second anniversary show. I am looking to Wrestle Carnival 2. I think it's going to be another amazing show. So many debuts, three matches that could be the main event. You might as well just call them the three co-main events.
Absolutely. And of course, just bring up the graphic one more time. It's going to be streaming live on iPay-per-view, a Premier streaming network. So I think Wrestle Carnival's fans who can't make it, it's their first opportunity to see it live instead of getting the DVD or waiting for it to drop on demand. It's going to be live, Andy.
Absolutely.
Exciting.
It's a big thing. Not many UK promotions go in live with their pay-per-view. So great to see, and it's another step forward in this journey of Wrestle Carnival.
Absolutely. And I'm sure Andy will echo my words, but congratulations to Wrestle Carnival, 2 years on the scene. And I was there at show number 1. I remember meeting Andy at show number 1 back in the Portland Centre. And boy, you know, they put on solid, amazing, incredible shows from day one, bringing in international talent and using the very best talent from around the UK. They haven't just been a local promotion, they've been a national promotion, let's be honest, with the talent and the matches, the shows they've been putting on, the international talent they've flown over. But in a nutshell, kind of what does it mean to you for Wrestle Carnival's second anniversary? And it's been a hell of a journey, hasn't it?
Absolutely, and to have been part of the journey, to being asked by Gary to look after the website, to put up articles regarding all the matches and so forth, it's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, as you say, to see this promotion, when I first started doing a British wrestling podcast, the Tea and Tights podcast, around the time Wrestle Carnival were about to do their first show. Gary was one of my very first guests. We called it 18 months in the making, because that's what it was. Due to the pandemic, due to COVID, the whole place shut down, and it took another whole year before Wrestle Carnival could finally make their debut. And it's been a hell of a journey.
It really has. So many moments. I'd say too many to mention here, because we've got we've got a stacked card to talk about. And of course, as you mentioned, it is pretty much 3 main events, a triple main event show. Leon Slater versus George Lydon. We'll talk about them a bit later on, but we saw them go up against, they're on opposite sides of the ring at the last show in that tag team main event. We will talk about that, I'm sure, but that's going to be a banger. Then, of course, we've got Chris Ridgeway defending his Pure Rules Championship against Emersyn, Jayne, somebody that Chris is no stranger of, and these two get to battle it out once again over the Pure Rules title in a Wrestle Carnival ring at the HMV Empire in Coventry. And then, of course, the main event, let's be honest, man like Dereiss puts the Wrestle Carnival Championship on the line against number 1 contender, bitter rival CJ Rollins, who is just blistering up the scene at the moment. And there is your champion. There is the challenger. That's going to be not just match of the night. That's not going to be match of the weekend. That could be match of the year, but so much to look forward to. But we got other matches to talk about beforehand. And without further ado, let's do that right now. And the first match we're going to talk about, Andy, look at this. Just jumps off the page. Rain Leverkusen. She's wrestled in many promotions around the UK. I've recently interviewed Rain, a fantastic talent. She's only been training or working for the last couple of years. Made her debut in about October 2021 against Ivy. Now, Ivy has been a real kind of stalwart of Wrestle Carnival pretty much from day one. Has had several memorable wins under her belt, including Tonga, including Harley Hudson at the last show, and of course that very, very memorable match against Lana Austin, where she picked up an epic victory. And this could very well be seen as a number 1 contenders match. And I think Ivy would certainly like to consider herself the number one contender to the queen of the Carnival Championship if she were to come away with the win. But she had better not underestimate Rain Leverkusen, making her Wrestle Carnival debut. She's picking up championships around the UK and making a name for herself. One of the most captivating talents, UK talents, wrestlers on the scene right now. And this is going to be a tremendous match between two of the best female talents on the UK scene.
Absolutely. Rain Leverkusen, the maiden of metal. Her uncle is actually the drummer for Iron Maiden. So that's where she gets her name from. And yeah, as you mentioned, she has exploded on the scene over 2 years. She's made huge appearances for some of the biggest promotions across the UK, including the biggest all-women's promotion in Europe of Pro Wrestling Eve, where she was a tag team champion alongside Laura Demeteo, was the Rock and Roll connection. She is a phenomenal young performer. Really looking forward to seeing where she goes. But up against Ivy, it's gonna be difficult. Ivy is undefeated in singles action in Wrestle Carnival. She's had 4 wins out of 6 outings, and the other 2 were, tag team matches or multi-person matches. Ivy is very deserving of a number one contendership. She put her name down back at Champions of Carnival 1 when she came out and laid down the challenge to then champion Alex Windsor.
I remember.
So it is about time Ivy got her opportunity. I'm not sure why she's been denied it so far. I think a big winner here over Rain Leverkusen, somebody who's been making a name for herself. There'll be no doubt in anyone's mind that Ivy is the number one contender.
Absolutely, and I'm sure Rain Leverkusen's wanting to make a blistering debut for Wrestle Carnival, and she's going to not want Ivy to get her own way, but you got to watch out for that baseball bat. Ivy is very keen with that baseball bat to potentially use it on her opponents when the referee isn't looking, so Rain is going to have wits about Let's talk about this match here. This is the Gauntlet for the Gold. Now, this, as you can see by the picture there, 8 very fine UK talents, including some people we know very well that have performed in a Wrestle Carnival ring many times, some experienced pros on the UK scene, and some relative newcomers. But you've got Alex Connors there, Kieran Young, Kieran Lacey, Corey McRae, Matt Powell, Nathan Cruz. We saw Nathan Cruz last in January when he defeated Riley Nova, of course. Ronan King, who was on that same show and picked up a win in the pre-show triple threat. And, of course, Robbie X making another appearance in a Wrestle Carnival ring. Now, the winner of this match, of this Gauntlet-style match, will be a contender for the Wrestle Carnival Championship. So a lot on the line here, and a lot to prove, especially if you're one of the newer talents, one of the younger talents, potentially making your debut for Wrestle Carnival. And I suppose some of the more experienced pros in this match, Andy, are not going to want to be embarrassed by a Wrestle Carnival debutante.
Absolutely not. You've got, as you say, 2 very experienced performers, people we've seen at Wrestle Carnival before in Nathan Cruz and Robbie X. Each one of those has already made it clear that they want the championship and they're going to do whatever it takes to get to that championship. Ronan King, so impressed by him at Champions of Carnival 2, the pre-show back in January, had an excellent show and picked up a huge win. I see so much star potential in Ronan King. Athletic, absolutely gifted performer, and certainly not shy or underconfident in any way.
Great character, yeah. Great persona.
Corey McRae is somebody I've been a fan of for the last couple of years. The silverback of Brit Rest. He has made his name not just in the UK but across Europe. He's performed in countries like Spain, Hungary, Belgium, Austria, Germany. He is a well-traveled performer, and I would love to see what happens with Corey McRae in Wrestle Carnival, because he is tailor-made for the pure division, in my opinion. Kieran Young is a fantastic young competitor as well. Kieran Lacey, from the south of London. He's really been putting his name about there on that London scene. And again, a lot of talent, a lot of promise. So, 5 debuts, 6 if you include Ronan King's main show debut.
Good point.
What
Good
a
point.
match.
Oh, hell of a match. Going to bring up that graphic one more time. And a real opportunity for some of the debutantes like Alex Connors, like Kieran Young, like Kieran Lacey, Corey McRae, and Matt Powell. Matt Powell's been on the scene for a number of years. I remember seeing him several years ago. But Ronan King, like I say, he made such an impression back in January. He'll be looking to keep up that momentum. Nathan Cruz has had a bit of a resurgence over the last 12 months or so. Robbie X, the king of the cruiserweights. And so much to look forward to in that match. And of course, I think what that match also demonstrates, you've got you could say the Wrestle Carnival originals there, but you've got people that are new to a Wrestle Carnival ring that could potentially be the future of Wrestle Carnival, Andy.
Absolutely. As I mentioned, Corey, he's tailor-made for the pure division. Him versus Chris Ridgeway or him versus Emersyn Jayne in the future will be absolute fantastic matches. Robbie X, as you mentioned, the king of the cruiserweights, one of the best performers in all of the world right now, one of the best junior heavyweights, king of the cruiserweights for a reason. And Nathan Cruz, you mentioned a resurgence. He is, again, one of the biggest names in British wrestling. He's been there. He's done it. And Matt Powell, well, he's one of those old school, true veterans of the scene. And I really look forward to seeing what he can do. And given this opportunity, could he be the surprise? Could he use his wits? Could he use his knowledge? Could he use his experience? But as you mentioned, the youth there, guys like Kieran Young, guys like Kieran Lacey, guys like Alex Connors, guys like Corey McRae, guys like Ronan King.
Yeah,
they are all they are the future of Wrestle Carnival. They are the future of the British wrestling scene. And I have no doubt that some of these guys will be main eventing for, the biggest promotions across the world, not in just a few years.
Absolutely. And one more time, I mean, we mentioned that this is going to be streaming live on iPay-per-view for the Premier Streaming Network, but you can be there. Don't miss out. If you live in the Midlands, if you live anywhere near Coventry, get yourself down there. Sunday, July the 30th. You can get tickets by simply going to thewrestlecarnival.com. thewrestlecarnival.com. There will be a link in the description to this show, so click on it, and me and Andy will see you down there. It's a show you're not going to want to miss, as demonstrated by our next match. And speaking about the future of British wrestling, I think you've got two very, very strong female talents there. Chantel Jordan, I think, making her 5th appearance now in the Wrestle Carnival ring, going up against the debuting Amira, a very promising young talent, been on the scene since about 2021, so the last 2 or 3 years. But this is going to be a fun match. I think Chantel Jordan's picked up some wins of late and has really become a Wrestle Carnival regular with the amount of shows that she's worked, whether it be in Nottingham or Coventry. But she's not going to want to embarrass herself by losing to a debutante. But Amira is there not just to make up the numbers. She's there to make an impression on the Wrestle Carnival fans in Coventry next Sunday.
Absolutely. Chantel Jordan is an absolutely incredible performer. Absolutely fantastic. She came out at the last Champions of Carnival 2 back in January, replacing Lizzie Evo. Huge, big win over Charlie Morgan in a street fight, of all things. A massive win for Chantel Jordan. She's on a roll right now. She's not going to want to let that slip. Amira, slightly older, a little bit more experience, and a little bit unhinged. You never quite know what you're going to get with Amira. You can check out her tweet laid out where she literally said, "I'm going to beat up a little girl," because Chantel Jordan is still only 18 years of age and already such an incredible performer. She's a regular, but she's still also the future of Wrestle Carnival. And so is Amira, an incredible young talent who's made debuts in the United States for promotions like New Texas Pro. has been in there with Rev Pro UK, has been in there with Purpose Wrestling, has been there for Pro Wrestling Eve. And as I say, a little bit unhinged. You don't know what you're going to get. She is a very dangerous opponent.
I think that's going to be a very, very hard match to call or to pick ahead of the match. But that's going to be one to watch for sure. Not just the future Wrestle Carnival, the future of British wrestling in that ring when those two step through the curtain. And speaking of future talents that are going to be taking the world by storm, Lance Rivera, his second appearance in Wrestle Carnival ring at 2, the second anniversary show, July the 30th, going up against Leighton Buzzard. Now, we haven't seen Leighton Buzzard in the Wrestle Carnival ring for getting on for 2 years. I think it was October 2021. And that was a hell of an appearance. I think he faced Joe Hendry in that match. But since then, he's gone on to become the ICW World Heavyweight Champion. And if I'm not mistaken, he's heading off to Japan in August to train and to work out there and to perform out there. But Lance Rivera, making his second appearance. The last time we saw him was back in May, Clash at the Carnival, where he had his debut match and his debut win against Riley Nova. So these two are full of momentum, two of the most promising young talents, not just on the UK scene, but further afield as far as I'm concerned. We talk about the future of Wrestle Carnival or future of British wrestling. These two are definitely on that list. But how do you think this match is going to go between these two?
I don't know. It's very two incredibly gifted, young, talented wrestlers. It could go either way. Leighton Buzzard does, you would say, have the experience, despite his young age. As you mentioned, an ICW world champion, has competed in Germany and Canada, is off to Japan for Big Japan Pro Wrestling, going to be joined by Bobby Gunn's older brother while he's out there. He has had an incredible year, one of the best years of any wrestler could ever wish for. A main event match against the best wrestler in the world right now in Will Ospreay, and he held his own and walked away with his head held high at the end of it. I'm a little worried because I'm bringing my wife to the Wrestle Carnival show, and Lance Rivera, the Playboy Prince, he has a reputation for stealing girlfriends and so forth. But you know, it is my wife, so not quite a girlfriend, but I'm sure I'll be fine. But what a performer. 6'1", athletically gifted, one of the best super kicks you'll ever see, has finished off so many opponents with that beautiful super kick of his, has recently won championships across the UK. Again, two brilliant young performers, and really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, and I think the last time we saw Leighton Buzzard, I mentioned to it a little bit earlier on, but October 2021 against Joe Hendry, came out on the losing end. But I think we've got a different Leighton Buzzard, a transformed Leighton Buzzard since we last saw him a couple of years back. And like you say, he's had so much success. He's worked on his physique, worked on his wrestling technique, and now he's going over to Japan. But he's faced the very best in the world. And I think we're going to see a totally different Leighton Buzzard in the Wrestle Carnival ring next Sunday. But that's going to be a banger. That's worth the price of admission alone, as they say, Andy. Lance Rivera versus Leighton Buzzard. Now, this card here has got some of the best and finest UK female talent around. And this match here demonstrates that in a nutshell. Lizzie Evo makes her return to a Wrestle Carnival ring, going up against Sapphire Reid. And we talk about the future of the business, and Sapphire Reid has been dubbed one of the most exciting prospects, not just in British wrestling, but world wrestling. And she's really taken the British independent scene by storm over the last couple of years. She's faced the very best across the UK, and now she makes her Wrestle Carnival debut. You talk about Lizzie Evo, who's been a Wrestle Carnival regular, you might say, against the future of Wrestle Carnival, Sapphire Reid. This has got main event, a match of the night written all over it, Andy.
Absolutely. Radioactive Sapphire Reid is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the best prospects in British, European, independent, Japan, America. It doesn't matter where you want to say. She is a phenom, and she herself has already been featured in so many big matches against the likes of AEW stars, Billy Starks and Mercedes Martinez. And she's been in the ring. She's fought with the best. But Lizzie Evo
is on the form of her life.
Yeah, and again, you know, you can say Sapphire is destined to be one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. Lizzie Evo is one of the best women's wrestlers in the world right now. Absolutely in a league of her own when it comes to attitude. She's vicious in the ring. She's picked up huge wins in Wrestle Carnival. She herself will be desperate to get back to that number one contendership match after losing out to Jeddah in a championship match. So she's going to come in and she's going to try and bully Sapphire Reed. That's the only way I can think she's going to come in here. She's going to try and bully Sapphire Reed, but a lot of people have tried to bully Sapphire Reed and a lot of people have failed in bullying Sapphire Reed. She is an absolute, as we say, young phenom.
Yeah, and I can see this one developing into an all-out brawl because I think these two will just want a war when it comes to it on July the 30th. But what we spoke about so far, several matches where it may not automatically be number one contenders matches, but there's so much on the line, and the winner of each of these matches that we spoke about so far, it is really about the future of Wrestle Carnival and where one single win could possibly take them in this promotion. There's so much on the line with each of these matches. And
absolutely,
how about this one?
Especially in the women's division. Especially in the women's. Wrestle Carnival's women's division is one of the strongest in the UK for a non-all women's promotion. They are always representing the best in British women's wrestling, and we've got 3 matches there that really signify that. We've got absolute great veterans and the best young talent. What an incredible lineup.
TheWrestleCarnival.com is where you need to head to get your tickets. Don't miss out. Don't be that guy that misses out, that wishes he was there. If you're not watching it on iPay-per-view, the Premier Streaming Network, you've got to be there. Is this single going to be the best show of the weekend? And the matches we've spoken about already are worth the price of admission. But then we got to talk about this one here. Chris Ridgeway returns to Wrestle Carnival, returns to the HMV Empire to defend his Wrestle Carnival Pure Championship. And a rematch of sorts because these two faced almost a year to the day last July in a Wrestle Carnival ring for the Pure Championship. Now, Emersyn Jayne, of course, came up on the losing end. I think that's when they crowned the very first Wrestle Carnival Pure Champion, when Chris Ridgeway first won the title. He's still holding on to it gallantly all these months later, 12 months later on. But then we get the rematch 12 months later on against Emersyn Jayne, who's she's taken herself away, she's brushed herself off, she's evaluated the situation, she's reflected on that loss against Ridgeway, and she's come back bigger, stronger, more determined than ever to get her revenge and to get her hands on that Wrestle Carnival Pure Championship. We spoke about contenders for match of the night earlier. This easily could be the match of the night. But if you love your pure rules style wrestling, if you love pure rules wrestling, then this is definitely up your street. And another reason why you need to get a ticket for the HMV Empire next Sunday, TheWrestleCarnival.com. But give us your thoughts on this match, these two individuals, and what sort of match you expect them to have on July the 30th, Andy.
You mentioned earlier how great that match is. My personal opinion is Emersyn Jayne versus Chris Ridgeway 1 was the best Wrestle Carnival match over the last 2 years.
Wow.
And I think they're going to probably go out and do it all over again. As you say, Emersyn Jayne, she had to reflect on that first loss, and she did so, and she's come back. She's picked up a huge win over one of the best technical wrestlers in the country in Sam Bailey to earn herself the number one contendership. She's never been afraid from Chris Ridgeway. This is the second time she actually called Chris Ridgeway out for this matchup. But Chris Ridgeway has been on a tear, has just become a 2-time GAC Pro Wrestling Noah Super Junior Tag Team Champion. as pure champion, has picked up wins over Ian Skinner, Jay Joshua, Iker Navarro from Spain. He is, and Tommy Kyle at the last show. Now, many will question the antics of Chris Ridgeway in that match with Tommy Kyle. Some will say he took things a bit too far and that he took liberties in that match, not allowing the referee to check on Tommy Kyle. And I think that's something we're going to probably see come into play again. He's going to look to not just dominate his opponent, but also dominate the referee and to make sure that the referee doesn't get in his way. But what a matchup. Emersyn Jayne is simultaneously one of the most underrated performers in the world, whilst also being one of the best wrestlers in the world. And you've only just got to look back throughout her history, how many championships she's held across the UK and into Europe. She was the Body Slam champion over in Denmark. She was the RCW champion in Spain. She's been the Pro Wrestling EU champion here in the UK. She literally just came off a deathmatch tournament where she stole the show. She can do everything. And if Chris Ridgeway thinks he's going to come in here and bully, it's not going to happen. It's not going to be easy for him. Emersyn Jayne really proved herself in that first match, but I think she knows she's got a second level. She knows she can beat Chris Ridgeway. But Chris Ridgeway hasn't been pinned he's only been pinned once in Wrestle Carnival, and that was the last Wrestle Carnival anniversary show, and it was Hayata, and it was for the Pro Wrestling Noah Junior Heavyweight Championship. In every other Wrestle Carnival match, he is undefeated.
Well, I think Charles Crowley might argue that point, because I think Charles pinned Ridgeway to pick up the championship back last January, if you remember. But
that was a multi-person matchup.
Well, I know. I think Charles Crowley would take all the plaudits for that. But just to whet our appetites, just a little bit more for this match, as if it needed wetting anymore, here's a quick hype video.
He is the reigning and defending Wrestle Carnival Pure Champion, Northwest Strong's Chris Ridgeway. She is the Mother Teresa of work rates, the Jane Austen of just being awesome. This is the main event empress, Emersyn Jayne.
There we go. The WrestleCarnival.com is where you need to be heading right now after seeing that hype package and listen to myself and Andy talk about Emersyn Jayne and Chris Ridgeway, two of the very best performers in the whole world, going head to head for the Pure Rules Championship in a Pure Rules match in front of what's going to be a red hot crowd at the HMV Empire. And you can be there. You can be part of that crowd. There's likely to be close to 300 people in that packed arena. The WrestleCarnival.com is where you need to be, heading right now. Click on the description that's going to be listed underneath our picture in the description, and you'll take you straight through to the website where you can get your ticket or tickets today. Now, let's talk about this one here. When we talk about hot prospects, future prospects, you're talking about two of the very finest in the UK there. Leon Slater, who's taken British wrestling by storm over the last couple of years. Not just one of the best high flyers, not just one of the best athletes in the UK, one of the best overall performers that anybody can list in their top fives, going up against George Lydon. who's really made Wrestle Carnival his home over the last year or so, Andy. And I think these two are going to put on probably the best spectacle you're likely to see. That's not just going to, it can't just be contained within the ropes, within the ring, Andy. This is going to be flying all over the place. So keep hold of your handbags and your jackets and your seat, because they will go flying. This match is going to be something special. And I'll use that word again, spectacular.
Absolutely, two amazing young talents. Leon Slater has taken the wrestling world by storm, but has yet to pick up a win in Wrestle Carnival. In 4 outings, he has not managed to actually pick up a victory yet. Whereas George Lyden, on the other hand, has picked up several victories for Wrestle Carnival, including a technical victory over Leon Slater in the main event of the last show in that tag match, although I don't think he really knew much about it after actually being taken out by his own partner, CJ Carter. More on that later. But, you know, George Lyden has, you know, picked up big wins in multi-person matches, big win in that tag team match, which, you know, had the Wrestle Carnival patrons off their feet during that tag team match.
What a main event.
Lydon and Slater, every time those two young men got in the ring, the pace just quickened, the hairs on the backs of every fan stood up. And yeah, two amazing athletes. Leon Slater's probably got the height, the strength, and even the speed. Lydon's probably a little bit more technical. It really could go either way. Leighton is the hometown boy, but Leon Slater, despite being a Yorkshire lad, has been adopted by the Midlands. So he's a hometown. He's an honorary hometown boy. It's going to be interesting to see where the crowd support lies in this match.
Absolutely. And I'd say, I'll say it again, these two are going to put on a spectacle. And it'll be one of their matches that you'll be talking about, not just for days after, but for weeks after. And of course, you have to be there to witness what we call in a 1/3 of a triple main event, because these two, well, let's go back to May and that main event and that terrific tag team main event and the story that match told, how it ended with CJ Rollins going rogue, turning on his partner, using that belt to his advantage to basically deck all three of the other guys, George Lydon, a man like Dereiss, and of course Leon Slater with the belt. But I think that demonstrated that George Lydon and Leon Slater are made for the main events. And I think they're destined to be main event players going forward wherever they tread. But in the Wrestle Carnival ring, in the Wrestle Carnival arena, I think they're made men, to be honest with you. And when you talk about the future of Wrestle Carnival, these two are number 1 and 2.
Yeah, we are literally going to find out who the future really belongs to, whether it's George Lydon or Leon Slater. It doesn't really matter. It's going to be exciting for Wrestle Carnival.
Yeah, let's just have a look at this hype package just to get our taste buds tingling even.
Can't stop me now.
Andy, throughout this preview show so far, we've spoken about many characters making the Wrestle Carnival debut that we believe could be the future of Wrestle Carnival, going up against established characters within Wrestle Carnival. There really is a mixture of matches, established and newcomer. But when you talk about the future of Wrestle Carnival and the future of the business, George Lydon and Leon Slater are that. And as you rightly said, the winner of this match will certainly go on to greatness witness in a Wrestle Carnival ring and could very well be a contender for the championship down the line. But that is going to be a very, very exciting match, and another reason why you need to be getting your tickets. And thewrestlecarnival.com is the place to be. Now let's talk about the main event. Man like Dereiss, the Wrestle Carnival, king of the carnival, the champion, goes up against CJ Rollins. And CJ Rollins became a number one contender after winning the Future X Cup in his debut, I think back in January, if I'm not mistaken. And that was a tremendous match. Since then, we've seen CJ Rollins again. And of course, in that wonderful tag team main event a couple of months ago in May, when CJ Rollins, as I mentioned earlier, went rogue. He got Dereiss's belt. He not only clobbered his own partner, but his two opponents. And basically, after the match, as we saw, these two brawled to the back. They brawled to the interview stage. And these two have so much heat. This match, I think you can cut it with a knife how much tension there is between these two. But what you're also going to get is two of the very best performers in the UK right now in 2023 going up against one another in a main event of all main events. I don't think any promotion can top this with what we're going to see next Sunday from the HMV Empire. CJ Rollins going up against man like Dereiss for the title.
Yeah, I don't think there's been a more heated rivalry in Wrestle Carnival's history over the past 2 years. There has never been a more heated rivalry than CJ versus man like Dereiss. CJ Rollins has got a chip on the back, the size of England right now when it comes to man like Dereiss. You know, they've come up together. They trained at the same place. CJ's been around a lot longer. But man like Dereiss is the one that's made the headlines, that's been there. And yeah, something has festered inside of CJ Rollins, and he is going to want to show the world that man like Dereiss is not the man he says he is. That is what CJ has said in the last show. I don't know what that means. We're going to find out. He's very unpredictable. He's been shown, we know now that he's willing to bend the rules if it needs to happen. Man like Dereiss, I think he's going to need a head on a swivel. He's going to need to keep his eyes on everything. The referee is going to need to be, we may need 2 referees for this main event. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. And I think since we saw the heel turn from CJ Rollins at the last show, considering how amazing he is as a talent, I think now having that attitude, having that chip on his shoulder, having that kind of devil on his shoulder, you could say, I think we've got a turned up CJ Rollins. I think we've got a more dangerous CJ Rollins than we've ever had before, than we've ever seen before. He appears to be picking up championships wherever he goes. It's almost like he's got an addiction for gold. That he needs championships. He is the bout collector of UK wrestling. Now, like I say, man like Dereiss is no slack in that sense. He's been picking up championships wherever he goes. So these two, we talk about the very best performers, the premier performers in the UK. Man like Dereiss and CJ Rollins, I think they're on everybody's lists. Everybody's booking them. Everybody's putting them in main events. Wrestle Carnival has it at their disposal this coming Sunday, the 30th of July, from the HMV Empire. Like you say, probably the most heated rivalry we've had in Wrestle Carnival ring, in Wrestle Carnival history. And now we've got that, probably the biggest main event Wrestle Carnival's ever seen.
Yeah, man like Dereiss is the ultimate hybrid wrestler. Power, pace, strength, athleticism. CJ Rollins is completely unpredictable. You don't know what you're going to get with CJ, and it's just going to make the whole main event on the edge. It's going to be on the precipice, and we're all going to be on the edge of our seats when that bell rings.
Absolutely. And one more hype video to get us in the mood. But once again, thewrestlecarnival.com is where you need to be heading right now.
Dereiss is at the top of Carnival. He's got everybody fooled into thinking that he's this nice guy. He's the people's champion. He's the people's hero. But deep down, if you scratch the surface just a little bit, he's an egotistical prick. I want to embarrass him. and I want to walk away with that championship just to shut his mouth for good. On July 30th, I can't wait to humble him. Can't wait to prove to him that you're not CJ Rollins.
Wow. I don't think you could have a more deserving, a more heated main event. But you can witness it. You can be there. TheWrestleCarnival.com is the place to be. Failing that, make sure you sign up to the Premier Streaming Network so you can watch it on iPay-per-view. It will be live. It will be the first Wrestle Carnival show to be aired live. So either watch it on iPay-per-view or better still be there. There are still tickets. There are still seats available. Let's sell out the HMV Empire for the second anniversary show. And I'm just going to go through the matches one more time because it is an absolutely stacked card. And at the top of the show, we spoke about Reign Leverkusen versus Ivy. And then we spoke about that absolutely stacked Gauntlet for the Gold match where the winner can challenge for the Wrestle Carnival Championship. You've got some established names there, some of the very best on the UK scene, like the likes of Robbie X, Nathan Cruz, against some less established names making their debuts in a Wrestle Carnival ring. That's going to be a very unpredictable match. Then we got Chantel Jordan in her 5th appearance in a Wrestle Carnival ring going up against debuting Amira. And like you say, she's a little bit unhinged, so you don't quite know what you're going to get from that one there. And then we saw the Playboy Prince pick up his victory in his debut match at the last show, but going up against Leighton Buzzard, who has transformed himself since we last saw him in the Wrestle Carnival ring, and that's going to be a quality match. That's the last match Leighton Buzzard's going to have before he heads over to Japan, and Lance Rivera is going to want to send him packing with a loss. And then we spoke about Lizzie Evo versus Sapphire Reed. Sapphire Reed, one of the most talked about wrestlers on the UK scene at the moment, one of the hottest prospects in European wrestling. But Lizzie Evo is one of the very best talents in the world, and that's going to be a hell of a match. Then we spoke about Chris Ridgeway putting his championship, the Pure Rules Championship, against Emersyn Jayne in a rematch 12 months in the making. Emersyn Jayne's gone away. She's reflected. She's worked hard. She's trained, and she's ready to take that championship away from Ridgeway. And then we spoke about two of the hottest, youngest, best prospects on the UK scene in Wrestle Carnival. George Lydon, hometown boy, versus Leon Slater, the youngest in charge. It's worth the price of admission. And then, of course, we got the main event. Man like Dereiss putting the Wrestle Carnival Championship on the line against one of the very best talents in the UK and further afield, CJ Rollins, the belt collector, looking to pick up the prize of the King of the Carnival Championship. But man like Dereiss stands in his way. That is going to be a main event of all main events. But we've kind of collected ourselves there. We've had a look. We've previewed. We've hyped all of the matches on offer for July the 30th from the HMV Empire. Andy, in a nutshell, how excited are you for that show?
I'm super excited. I am unbelievably excited to be there for this match that features, the future of the British wrestling scene, the future of Wrestle Carnival, a promotion that recognizes and wants to show off the incredible British wrestling young talent and the incredible women's wrestling we have here in the UK. We have got 3 bona fide main events. None of these matches are going to be the same. It is the wrestling variety show. It is Wrestle Carnival 2. It is the 2nd anniversary.
There we go. I couldn't have summed it up better myself. But the place you need to be headed right now is click on the link in the description to this hype show. And like I say, do yourself a favor. Get tickets for the HMV Empire July the 30th. Be part of that packed crowd inside that wonderful venue to help celebrate the 2nd anniversary of Wrestle Carnival. What a way to celebrate Wrestle Carnival's 2nd year on the UK scene. We've spoken about several amazing matches there. Or you could say a triple main event with the Pure Rules Championship, the future Wrestle Carnival match between George Lydon, Leon Slater, and of course that main event between man like Dereiss, putting his title on the line against CJ Rollins, the unpredictable CJ Rollins. And what a show. You have to be there. Failing that, as I mentioned at the top, you can watch it live. The very first Wrestle Carnival show to be streaming live on iPay-per-view through the Premier Streaming Network, July the 30th. And like I say, you can watch it on iPay-per-view or be there by going to the WrestleCarnival.com. But Andy, it's been a pleasure as always. Hosting these hype shows with you. Just one more time, where can we reach out and say hi to? Where can we see your wonderful show, the Tea and Tights podcast? And I believe you've got a new home on YouTube.
Yes, you can check us out. It's at Tea and Tights Pod. It's at GB Otaku 82 for myself. We highlight everything going on in the British wrestling scene with a bi-weekly podcast and bi-weekly interviews with the top stars within the UK scene and abroad. We just had Endakara on the show, available now on YouTube. Endakara is a phenomenal young talent from Sweden who's actually been applying his trade in Big Japan Pro Wrestling, and it's likely to see Leighton Buzzard out there at some point. So definitely go check out that interview. Definitely go check out our latest episode, which should be out either just after this preview comes out or just before, depending on when this preview actually drops. But we got a brand new episode this Monday where we talk the likes of who is Blue Cane and so much
What a
more.
question. What a question. Absolutely. And I've been Jonas from the Wrestling with Jonas podcast. We are now approaching 5 years as a podcast, and we interview the biggest and the best and the very best talent on the UK independent scene and the very brightest up-and-coming stars on my weekly live fan interactive podcast. If you like your interviews and you like your UK indie scene, you'll love the Wrestling with Jonas podcast. But enough from me, enough from Andy. We'll see you there at the HMV Empire in Coventry, July the 30th. TheWrestleCarnival.com is where you need to be heading right now to get your tickets. We've previewed what is going to be an incredible show, and you have to be there. But Andy, I'll see you in Coventry on Sunday, my friend.
Looking forward to it.